Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Lowdown on Low Code, a mostly weekly podcast brought to you by your friends at analysis.tech. Thanks so much for joining. I'm John Rymer. I'm a analyst here at analysis.tech. Um, and today we are continuing a series of conversations that we've been having about low code and enterprise applications. And I'm very happy to have uh, Konrad Rogers, President and COO from Nextworld, which is a company I had never heard of, but has a long experience here. And Konrad, welcome. We're very happy to have you here to help us explore this question.
Very happy to be here.
So I am joined today by my good friend in tech and baseball and dogs, Rick Greenwald. Rick, how are you today?
I'm fine. You forgot music, John.
Oh, I did. Oh, well, my bad. Anyway, as I say, our topic today is low code for serious enterprise applications. Conrad, again, very happy you're with us to explore this topic. Rick, over to you.
Thanks, John. And once again, thank you, Conrad, for being here. And maybe we can start by getting a little bit of the road that brought you to the next world. What was the previous world like? How did you get here to where the next world is?
Mm-hmm. All right, it's a little bit longer road than I like to admit at this point.
We're all older, Conrad. Don't worry about it, right?
So it started in the mid '90s. When I graduated, I was given the opportunity to go to work for JD Edwards as a mid-range mainframe programmer, RPG programmer. So
Wow.
I'm really dating myself, which I still reflect on very fondly. It was a great experience. And from that, as you start to get later in the 90s, right, we had that huge event or not event of Y2K.
Yep.
And JD Edwards has started up a project to take a very successful RPG-based product and create a client-server-based product. And I moved along with that. I got to learn that functional space. I got to learn how to be a developer beginning in that RPG environment, and then moved on to what we called the Everest project. And the Everest project was making a client-server product that would more fully address some of the trends we were seeing in the market at that time and take advantage of being able to absolve this risk and this fear that was out there with Y2K, which is a whole nother episode we want to talk about how that panned out.
That would be actually.
Yeah. So in JD Edwards with the RPG, we had this foundation. I'm not going to call it a platform, but we didn't start programs from scratch. We used a tool that one of the founders of JD Edwards had created to kind of get us 60% there. And then we, as the business functional developers who knew the functional spaces of manufacturing or procurement or distribution or what have you, would then take that and we take it the other 20, 30% of the way. All right. And at that time, right, it had been around a while. We felt that was pretty revolutionary because we were taking that mundane, repeatable pieces of a program, so to speak, taking that away so that developer, that professional developer, could really focus on the business domain that they were being asked to create solutions for, if that makes sense.
Right.
When we moved to the Everest project, which is now Oracle Enterprise One, which we'll get into, we took a platform first approach, which was we created a platform that we wanted those business applications developers to use, trying to do the same thing, but taking the next step with this case tool. And so that platform tried to provide to the internal applications developers something where they could focus more on just the business requirements that they needed to solve and not so much on the screen layout, the screen composition, the database access, all the things that were kind of common in let's just call it foundation to any enterprise application. Okay.
Right.
Now we could we could talk about, did we get, 80% there? Well, we didn't get 100% there. So I really think that my low code experience and my passion for low code began in that era, right?
Interesting.
In that project, seeing how can we enable business developers to focus on the business problem and not be anchored down in all the technical minutia of the particular technology they're being asked to work with,
Right.
if that
Right.
makes sense.
Right. No, it
Yeah.
makes sense. It's so interesting that we coined the term low code, but my partner at Forrester, Clay Richardson, and I coined the term low code in 2014. But I always felt like it existed. That there was a community, there was a mindset, and you just proved that once again. Uh,
Yeah, because we didn't call it low code, but it fits perfectly, right?
that's right.
Yeah,
That's
you called it 4GL.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And so from there, I moved from being on the business side. I was given an opportunity to then hop over at JD Edwards. And it was a pretty big hop, actually, to be on the platform team and to lead some of the platform areas.
mm,
And so my trajectory, my journey went from a basis of being one of those applications developers to then providing the tools for those applications developers. And
right,
I felt that was a real blessing because I was the customer, or I had been the customer, so I understood that. And me being able to bring that to the platform teams, I felt was really, really valuable. And
right,
a lot of times on platform teams, we're, we're several layers away from the actual customer or
right,
the end user that's actually using our product. And that to me is very, very dangerous. So I saw some of my leadership role on the platform team was helping those teams shrink that bridge, make that bridge a little bit smaller. And I'll never say I was completely successful, but I think it helped. Um, and it
well,
really brought value to the platform product that we were delivering to our internal and sometimes external customers.
well.
And then
JD
go ahead.
Edwards
I'm
got
sorry.
a ton of adoption, so I think proof's in the pudding, right? Proof's in the
Yeah,
adoption.
I would agree.
Yep, yep.
Um,
That's
and then
awesome.
from there, right, then we had the whole seminal acquisition phase of enterprise software starting. PeopleSoft acquired JD Edwards. The same day that that was announced, Oracle announced a hostile takeover of PeopleSoft. So we were briefly PeopleSoft for about 18 months, which was a very unique experience, a
Hmm,
great experience. And
hmm.
then Oracle acquired us. And then I was with Oracle a few years after the acquisition. I then jumped from the JD Edwards platform team over to um, a project called Social CRM with Oracle, which was
Huh,
one of the first products that was a SaaS product delivered by Oracle early on. And then
huh.
from there, there was a realization from the CRM team that, hey, delivery as a service is going to be very, very important. So my journey then went from social CRM, which was kind of a optional, not critical path set of applications to enable and to make salespeople and sales organizations more productive, into Fusion CRM and helping that organization deliver as a service.
Right. And Fusion
Um,
CRM, for those who don't know, was essentially, the PeopleSoft and Oracle apps teams coming together, right, and trying to
mhm.
and
And
creating
Siebel,
something
yeah,
that was
yep,
greater than the sum of the parts.
yeah. And so we had the project was called Fusion, but it was really just as you mentioned, John. It was a fusion of these different teams from these separate, very significant development organizations themselves, from Siebel to Oracle had their own enterprise CRM product,
Yep.
PeopleSoft as well. JD Edwards had one, but it wasn't really it wasn't really, in my opinion, a strategic focus of JD Edwards. But there was a CRM product there,
Hmm.
and I was bringing all those together. But I wasn't brought on to the Fusion CRM team because of my JD Edwards background. It was because of my SaaS experience with the social CRM product itself, and
Right.
then being pulled over into the Fusion world. And I was there. It was kind of on a platform side. It was like SaaS enablement, some beginnings of enterprise solutions of CRM until 2017. And in 2016, 17, Ed McVaney, who was the founder of JD Edwards, Axel, I just say Alex, boy, he's never going to forgive me for that. Axel and Vito and Kylie were forming what became Nextworld. And that also was a platform first approach to a different set of business problems that we saw an opportunity and we wanted to solve.
Right. Right.
So in 2017, my career up till then was software engineering and software engineering leadership. At that point, the opportunity at Nextworld that really appealed to me was being able to cross the chasm, so to speak, out of software engineering and into operations and execution,
Right.
and learning all of those other areas really excited me. So it was more of a compliment to Axel and Vito could focus on the software engineering aspect. I could focus on the operational execution and learn a bunch of other areas because that is kind of the juice that keeps me going.
Right.
And be careful what you wish for because there's a lot more there to learn than I might have first thought, and I'm still learning every day. So which is great.
So, Rick, I'm tempted to cue up the Beatles' "The Long and Winding Road" at this stage. Um, thank you, Conrad. Very interesting. So first, or the next question really is, Satya Nadella famously said something like "SaaS is dead" in a podcast that he did, then stimulate a whole conversation about um, whether or not the future was really going to be defined more by custom development, which would be enabled by low code, vibe code, AI assisted development of all stripes, rather than buying package solutions and customizing them. Um, you guys are smack in the middle of this, and you got all history. How do you see it? Are you actually seeing the pendulum swing toward more custom development? And I wonder if you could, if you could give us an example or two that you've seen.
Um, largely I'd have to agree with that, actually. What I'm encountering more and more frequently is that source of truth system, that especially the more core it becomes, the less willing and able IT groups and organizations are to touch it, if that makes sense.
Oh,
And what the challenges that are being brought to the table are the challenges that are really the things that make each organization unique. They have some unique business flow. They have some unique characteristic, whether it's processing, inputs that are. I ran into this a couple months ago with a customer where they have a unique process where some of the inputs into their manufacturing process are actually, they generate revenue off of them, and they're also the raw materials cost into
huh,
a product that they're building on the other side,
huh,
which a standard ERP is not going to handle.
right.
And then I ran into another where they had this concept of ownership of inventory, and we're heavily involved in inventory centric industries, where you can have the same exact piece of inventory, but it's different because of who actually owns it. And you're the steward of it. And so these kinds of
Kind of, I mean, what you just described is what we see in data governance all the time. The same
Mhm.
piece of data has different meaning, different context. It's all about context.
Yeah, exactly. And in the past, that would have been cut and dry. You go in, you customize the system that you have to solve for this new requirement.
Yeah.
However, what you've seen happen over years, if not decades, is the result of doing it that way has created a lot of technical debt. And then that technical debt keeps circling, right? And the more that you do, till you get to the point where even the very smallest request of an IT department for a small, what the business is thinking, hey, this is a small, inconsequential feature. And the IT department's reaction is completely outsized, right? It's like, oh, that's going to take $10 million in 2 years, right?
Right.
Why? Well, it's because you built up this house of cards with all this technical debt, and any
Right.
change is significant risk and significant effort. And so, like an iceberg, you're from the business is only seeing the tip of the iceberg. The group that's responsible for that system has to really be cognizant of the whole thing, right? Otherwise, it can all come crashing down, and there's a lot of risk, and it can go very badly. So that, in combination now with these platforms, low-code platforms, no-code platforms, and AI, which I see as an extension, as another chapter upon which low-code and these platforms are going to build, they make it easier to go that last mile, to do it in such a way where you don't have to touch that core system. And that's very, very appealing, right, for these companies, where they can solve these unique business challenges and not incur risk into the source of truth system that they had and they've built on for years and years. So some might say, that's just kicking the can. In a certain respect, it is just kicking the can, because you're not dealing with that core technical debt. You're kind of quote unquote working around it. But with these platforms, you're enabling the business to continue to innovate and meet the changing market that they need to deal with. And I think that's just going to continue. So from that perspective, I'd have to say that, yeah, I see more and more of it. And I agree with the sentiment. Much as I would like everything to be a 0 or a 1, right? It's a gray area, but I see it moving in that direction.
Yeah, and I mean, technical debt, it's a big topic I've thought a lot about, and due for a long conversation between us in the future. Technical debt only comes about when something changes, which happens constantly. So
Constantly.
I always tell people you can get rid of your technical debt for 1 day or 1 hour or 1 minute, then it starts building up again. But this leads us to a very relevant conversation here. You talk about technical debt, you talk about the problems, and you also have a low code platform that you use to build applications with. How can you use this platform effectively to come out with the best result on the end, not only for the immediate generation, but to avoid problems like technical debt in the future?
Hmm. Well, one way is the way that these platforms are implemented, and the way the Nextworld platform is implemented, is removing those requirements and what the business needs and the blueprint from the actual technical implementation. So being able to separate those two such that you are able to avoid the technical debt that comes with the specific technology you're using to leverage, I think is a really important point. And there's different ways that different platforms do this. The way that our platform does it is we have a metadata layer that separates the two, so that we can always go back and regenerate those implementations, and we control it, because we're the ones that are watching and the subject matter expert on technical implementation of what's going on over time. And if our customers wanted to be a technology customer, a lot of them, right? That's what they would be, but they want to be a distribution company. They want to be a discrete manufacturer. Their subject matter expertise is different, and they're able to use not just the platform, but also the vendor behind that platform to allow them to watch their six, so to speak, and minimize that technical debt.
Hey, everybody, let's take a quick commercial break. You are watching or listening to the Lowdown on Low Code, a mostly weekly podcast from analysis.tech. And if you're with us, thank you for joining. If you like this podcast, you like the content, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, hit the like button, hit the share button. We're available, like I say, just about every week on your favorite podcast platform. And analysis.tech is myself, former Forrester analyst and one of the two guys that coined the term low code. Rick Greenwald is with us, our data guy. Rob Koplowitz, long experience in low code and digital process automation. Dave Marcus, long experience in digital process automation and business development. Francis Carden, the godfather of RPA, and our former chief economist at Forrester, Andy Bartels. And with that bit of business, let's get back to the conversation. So, Konrad, so you're out, Nextworld is out there doing serious enterprise projects, as you say, like really trying to automate the thing that makes an enterprise special. There's been a lot of fits and starts and ideas about how to organize to deliver those projects quickly, efficiently. There's a lot of debate about Agile, for example. How do you guys, when you go in and start working with a client, recommend to that client that they get themselves set up for a really good outcome and not take 10 years doing it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an excellent question. I think the first thing is for that project team to clearly understand the why. What is the aim? What is the value you're really looking to deliver? That's the foundation. And it needs to be clearly understood, not just by the project team, right? But by the organization itself.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not on day one, but as part of your implementation process of any of these complex products, whoever's going to be using, and a lot of times it's all kinds of different roles, right? It's not just one role within the organization, it's multiple. You're going to have to be able to articulate, why are we doing this? What is the value we aim to actually deliver? On that foundation, then we get into this into how are we actually going to organize the project team to execute. Now, I come from an Agile Scrum background, and and probably maybe to an extreme. I'm a bit of a one-trick pony. I implement Agile across all of the operational groups. I think the spirit of many of the tenets of Agile apply, regardless of whether it's a software engineering project or not. So on a customer project, a complex enterprise project, I think it's very important that you have the team defined that covers the business users, covers each of the different or proxies for the different roles that you need to have, in addition to your implementation consultants, and laying that project team out with each customer is different. Some customers are going to bring 80% of the fulfillment of those roles, right? But we want to dictate that we want each facet of those roles, call it a fusion team, call it a multidiscipline team, whatever you want to call it, lay out the roles that are going to be necessary for success, and then figure out who's going to fill those roles.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. And then I am a big believer in iterative, call it agile approach to executing against those and showing your stakeholders as early as possible what it is you've delivered to see when you're off course. I think there's huge value in that. I also think there's huge value in closing the gap between the business users that are going to be the ones that you hope generate and get the value to that project team itself. And the more distance there is between the two, the greater the degree of risk, in my opinion. So
what's your attitude about citizen development?
well, I think we're getting closer and closer to it with each chapter. And as we talk about AI and agentic and things like that, I think that's another step towards fulfilling this vision of citizen development. I just want to be very cautious about it, because no matter how easy you make it to create an application at an enterprise level, there is still this aspect of you need a good design. You need to build it from the data up. And some citizen developers, they're citizens, they're business users. They don't understand those aspects.
Right.
So you need to be honest about that and make sure that you are supporting those citizen developers in the right way. So I personally do not feel that no matter how good a platform is or easy it is for a citizen developer to use, that in all cases, we should let them go forth and develop.
Yeah.
Because no matter how good a platform is, there's still a way to create technical debt. There's still a way to create issues, and citizen developers might not be as sensitive to things like something you guys have talked a lot about: governance,
Yep.
security, authorization,
Yep.
good data stewardship, and things like that.
Rick is
Did
smart.
that answer your question, John?
It did very well. Thank you. Over to you, Rick. I see you're smiling.
Oh, because Konrad, when you mentioned data is the foundation and you have to build from the data up, could you see the cockles of my heart glowing happily? I am a data guy, and it's wonderful to hear that. I think sometimes developers think of data as an artifact. It's really not that important. And I don't think that's true at all. I think it's the foundation of everything. And one of the questions I have for you, I'd love to hear your thoughts on data. Of course, is the foundation. You're using data. There's really nothing else without data. But can data also contribute to rapid application development, contribute shaping how applications work, not only with the data, but its structures and its governance and all of that stuff too?
And it's
Yeah,
context.
Context,
absolutely.
my favorite
And
word. Yeah.
the clearer the understanding you have of the data that you have and the data that you want to build, as, I don't know, step one, the better the application and the solution that you're going to deliver at step 5 or 10 or 15 or whatever it ends up being, right?
It ripples through the process over and over again. If you don't get that right, at best, you're going to be spending time compensating for it in your coding, and at worst, you'll just fail.
And as soon as you say compensating in your code for it, I think, well, more technical debt.
That's the definition. Yeah.
Right. And it happens over and over again. And the reluctance to go back to the foundation and deal with the foundational problems that you're experiencing in a solution is something that I feel good low code platforms make more palatable. You still have people, and that's one thing that I feel like we still have to deal with. I know, out there we're talking about 0 FTEs and all that kind of stuff, but I don't believe in that in the short term.
No.
You sell people, and once people using a platform or otherwise have built something, they're attached to it,
Yeah.
right? And so building a culture where the idea I have or the implementation I have is not my own, but the team's, and it's open for anybody to criticize, it's open for anybody to change, and it's ours collectively, makes the team and the individuals on that team more willing to address foundational problems and go back and revisit them. And when they're enabled with a effective low code or no code platform, it's not as daunting an enterprise to try and take on.
And what you just described is really a way to work with those two separate teams. Yeah, I love the way you said we've got your end users and the people needing the application, the people who implement it. Yes, those are two separate groups, right? But it has to be driven by the end users. They're the only ones they're the ones who decide what value is, okay?
Exactly.
And you can't do that for them. The flip side of it is they don't understand how important that foundation is and how things in that foundation can have a massive impact on the flexibility, on the performance, on the scalability of their system. That's for professionals to do. And that's how they come together. And as long as they both realize what the other side is doing, we can live in peace and harmony.
Well, maybe.
It's a step. It's a start.
There's no hope without it. I'll give you that. And one other thing I'd add to that, Rick, is supportability. So often in these projects, right, I will have the customer and sometimes even our own project teams focus so much on that go live that it's almost like they don't see anything beyond that. But that's the beginning. That's not the end. Right? That's when value starts to be delivered. So you need to make sure the project team is in place to the extent necessary to make sure you get through that first optimizing phase, because any significant project is not going to come out completely smoothly. Set that expectation up front. Say, hey, it's going to be a little bumpy, but the entire team is here. We're going to get through it.
And the
And
more,
yeah,
oh, go
go
ahead,
ahead,
sorry.
Rick.
The more valuable it is, the longer lasting it will be. And it should be the goal of everyone in the entire, across the entire organization to build more valuable systems.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
a little, part of me is a little puzzled, honestly, by this part of our conversation. Conrad, your history just there, we've got decades of experience in delivering, you know, serious serious automation in the enterprise, and the foundational issues that you're describing. I'm wondering, is it the case that a lot of companies have just forgotten too much about those foundational issues, because we have the experience to know that they're there? I'm
Mhm.
just puzzled about what you see in terms of, people missing out on that. Is it because they just are way overly optimistic about what low code can deliver? Uh, is it that they just don't have the talent anymore? They don't have the expertise anymore? What do you see?
Well, I don't think it's a talent issue. I feel people are fundamentally good. The people that we work with, I'm amazed by, both at our customers, and on our own teams. So I don't think it's that, but I think there's a natural impatience,
Mm.
right? And low code and no code platforms make things faster. You can do things much faster. And earlier in my career, the thing that I really, really hated to see was demos at the beginning of a project to executives, because those demos got everybody excited, but they also created this illusion that you were done. But the demo was happy path. It wasn't, there was no performance, stability, or reliability testing. All the things that make something enterprise ready, or call it production ready, are not there, right? Well, these are no code platforms, are low code, no code platforms, and now AI, right? Um, they speed up these cycles, and they can be an effective tool, right? You can iterate on getting to the right idea, getting to the right direction, but the fundamentals of creating a solid enterprise solution have not changed,
Right, right,
right? They have not changed.
right.
And if no, and what we have available to us are more powerful tools. Those more powerful tools can be very dangerous.
Yeah,
And that's sometimes what I see is we get out ahead of our skis.
yeah.
And then
So,
what the last thing these customers want to do sometimes is take a step backwards
yeah,
Yeah.
and say, you know what? Maybe we didn't fully think this through. Back to my original point of what is the aim, right?
Mm, mm,
And what's that value?
mm.
sometimes I want to tell people when they're in trouble, like, oh, you skipped the hard part. No, what?
So,
You can't do that.
Right.
so
Right.
by the way, a little fun fact: each one of us is in the Denver metro area, and it took how many minutes before we had a skiing reference? We should maybe be a little ashamed of ourselves. Anyway,
Well, it's because we're not talking about the Rockies, okay?
okay, yeah, we're not talking about Mountains were
Let's,
okay. The baseball team, not so much. But anyway,
uh,
um, Conrad, great points. Thank you for that. You brought up AI a couple times. It's obviously it's front and center of every strategy out there. People trying to figure out how to take best advantage of conversational interfaces, autonomous agents, co-pilots. Um, how do you guys, in the world of the enterprise, how do you see it helping, and how do you see it becoming an issue and actually
mhm.
hurting things?
um, well, let me go through helping first.
Okay.
My from a platform perspective, right? From a low code, no code platform perspective, I see what's coming out with AI as right along right along with our vision. What are we trying to do? We're trying to put technology and the enablement of technology in as many hands as possible, lowering that barrier to entry. Um, a prompt response way of doing that is just the next evolution. It's making it that much easier. And I see, and I can't really, there's very few days I get by without hearing agentic, which was not the case 12 months ago. But the way that I look at agentic and agentic solutions is it's another application type.
Mm.
So in a platform, you might have header details, and you might have details, and you might have, dashboard cards and things, just different types of objects that you're creating for specific user experience requirements
Mhm.
or data requirements. Agentic to me is another chapter in that. It's another way to interact with users that the platform should be surfacing,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So in those two ways, I see it fundamentally changing the experience of using the platform and also interacting with the platform as an end user, but with what you've produced on it.
Okay.
Um, I also think that those two things have exacerbated a problem that already existed with the ease with which we can create enterprise content on these platforms.
Mm.
And that is governance and enterprise grade. Well, those requirements are unchanged, whether you're delivering an agent or you're delivering a header detail or whether you're delivering a customer portal.
Mhm.
If you haven't thought about those aspects of your delivery and your deployment to production, all you've done is you've made it a lot easier to get yourself in a real bad mess more quickly.
Amen, brother.
And that is something that that I fight with on a weekly basis, because just like data is the foundation, that doesn't change with what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Governance, security, compliance, those things don't change either, right? So this perception out there that AI is going to make everything easier, and with the input of a couple prompts, we have an enterprise application that can just go to production. I'm sorry, that's not the case. Good design, good data stewardship, good governance, those, regardless of how you're creating the application, you still have to do a darn good job with those, or you're going to put your enterprise at risk.
Right.
And it's not easy either. Never
It's it,
was,
it
never will be.
no, it's easier to screw it up now, but it's not easy to solve.
Great. Hey, Conrad, thanks so much for spending this time with us. I think you've really nailed some really important points and some great advice for clients, for customers. Folks, if you're not aware of Nextworld, I was not until very recently. Check them out. They're based here in Denver, but doing business, lots and lots of customers, enterprise applications. Nextworld.com, I assume, Conrad?
Nextw.com.
Nextw.com. Thank you. Nextw.com. Um, Folks, thanks for tuning in. Hope this was helpful. Uh, let us know your feedback, if you would, and what other topics you'd like us to address. Conrad, again, many thanks, and all the best to you.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Conrad.